the return of Riho, baby.
Woo, 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 Riho. Bro, I forgot Jon Moxley beat Kenny Omega. I forgot. This is why he has to beat Mox at his own game. This is why.
No, it's getting the best of him. I'm telling you, you don't beat someone in their own game. You have to beat them on your game. And this week, Sting came out and said, I got this, bro. He came out with a bat. He put the bat on the floor and said, I got this. Ace, he didn't got this.
That man didn't even get back up after that. I was expecting him to get back up. No, that man sit there staring at the lights and said, yo, can I still go?
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the weekly finisher. My name is Roger, a.k.a. Beef Supremey.
Hey, that was a new intro, Beef Supreme.
And to my left is Ace Styles, baby.
What's good? It's your boy, Ace Styles.
What is good, Ace? Another great
so good.
week of... It's always good. It's always good, baby.
Always good.
Always good. We're starting off the year with some great women's wrestling in AEW with the return of Riho, baby.
Woo, 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 Riho. Bro, I have been so excited. Like, you don't understand how much I love Riho. Riho, to me, her story, her descent and her rise in wrestling is so good. Like, I love the character of Riho because the way she was brought into this business all the way up till now, she's so good. She's so good.
It's weird. Like, she sometimes I don't even think she wants to be lovable, but she's lovable. And this person carried the women's brand when AEW started. She cemented what it meant to be women's champion in AEW. And the crowd used to go wild for her. Like, by the way, it's nice to hear the crowd, and they were chanting, welcome back. Like, they were chanting, she still got it. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. And to top it off, she takes on Serena Deeb. By the way, one of the most underrated talents in women's wrestling. What do you think of the match?
I think that was arguably, if not, the best women's wrestling match in all of AEW Dynamite history. And I'm telling you that because that was a technical prowess of a match. From top to bottom, that was pure technical wrestling at its finest. I have never seen that highlight of a match in women's wrestling till this day. Now, granted, we've had Bayley versus Becky. We've had Bayley versus Sasha. We've had Charlotte Flair versus all the four horsewomen, and they did a phenomenal job. But if you go back and legit watch this match from top to bottom, you will see the technical in-ring generals and just the fluidity in this match. By far, the best women's match I have seen this decade.
It has some. Serena Deeb is such a good wrestler. She reminds me of Ivory back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Yes. She's strong, and she's also skilled, and she could fit into any era. I feel like even if you were to throw her in with all the four horsewomen WWE, she would deliver. Like, she's underrated. And I think it's great that, like, you know, she still represents the NWA title. To her, I'm not saying this didn't matter to her, but she's still a champion. Like, we're still going to get to see her. She's had great matches with Thunder Rosa. This isn't the end of Serena Deeb, baby.
No, and that's what you have to understand. That's why I say it's such a good technical match, because you forget that she is the NWA Women's Champion. She is the champion. Riho, coming off of a defeat with Nyla Rose, right? All that happened with Sheet and everything else, right? She's been gone from the ring. She's been fighting in Joshi Pro Wrestling.
She's been gone for a year.
She's been gone for a year, right? We're still in the middle of the pandemic, but I'm telling you, the versatility in this match showed that Riho is still prime and she's still in the game. And we saw that this past Wednesday night on Dynamite.
Riho still has, I have always liked Riho's style because she has a moveset that is heavy, but she's little. So, like, you know, the fact that it carries that much weight coming from her, it establishes other women, especially women that are her size. Yeah. So this was a part of the AEW women's tournament that we're doing that is going to top off at Revolution. Yeah. And this was the U.S. side. Ace, we had a great tournament from the Japanese side this week.
Wow. Okay. Can we talk about how just so much different the Japanese wrestling side of women's wrestling is?
It's cool, so, man.
I was blown. For those of you who've never watched a Joshi Pro Wrestling match, I adhere you, and I'm telling you right now, after you watch this video, go do yourself a favor and go watch that. Because from top to bottom, that was pound for pound incredible women's wrestling. I've never seen anything like that.
And the fact, again, it's a shame that we don't have a crowd. Yeah. They have the talent that we're getting. It reminds me of WCW, where like growing up, I always felt like you had so many cruiserweights and you had so many women and you had so many tag teams and international talent that sometimes they weren't the main events or the big talk of like the wrestling town, but everyone remembers like the people that wrestled in those eras. And there were so many women's matches that were like just stay in your head during that time. You know, seeing this tournament and even seeing the return of what's her name, Emi Sakura and Yuka Sakazaki, and seeing the introduction of Asia Kong. Like, there's so much talent here, and the matches were fun. Emi Sakura, I'm used to seeing her come out dressed up like the lead singer of Queen, and she came out kind of like a bit depressed this time. So I was wondering, is there a backstory behind that? They all come out with their own stories, their own styles. That was good, man.
So what did you think? What was your match of the night then for the women's tournament? Then what was the one that really stood out to you?
Well, I think the Riho, what's her name, Mizunami,
Riho
versus Maki Ito. That was so good, man. Like,
Are you a simp now? Are you a simp now for Maki Ito? Because that's what she's calling her fans.
It's so good.
She's good, man. She has it. She just has it.
And like, again, they have this sense of just controlling an audience. And I think it's cool because, again, this is talent that I didn't know of. I try to follow like Japanese wrestling and Mexican wrestling and any wrestling that you can find in the world. And it's hard to keep up. So I think it's really cool that they gave us this introduction. And I love it.
I think for me, the match of the night was Veni versus Emi Sakura. Now, for those of you who do not know Veni is our very first transgender women's Japanese wrestler ever to be on Dynamite, ever to be on Joshi Pro Wrestling. So she's already an amazing superstar. But besides that, the match of that match caliber, they were strong style. They went at it. Emi's moveset, Veni, high flyer, just in top to bottom. That match, if you wasn't, I thought that was a New Japan Pro Wrestling style match. If you didn't even know, that's what I felt. Watching that match, I felt the hard hitting matches, the hard, like it almost takes you out of the match and like, wow, I'm watching art. I'm watching a performance between these great women, and I'm just so it's so incredible that we got to see that, and I can't thank AEW enough for just putting on this spectacle.
And you're right. I feel like seeing Veni and Emi Sakura fight that again. You see Riho, and I'm like, oh, she establishes people like Sakazaki and like other wrestlers that are kind of her size. You see Veni go out there, and you see Emi Sakura, and they're delivering blows. Like, it's like, whoa, this isn't just going to be categorized into like this one niche type of wrestling. They have it all, man.
They have, and that's what I'm saying. To me, the Veni match again with Emi Sakura, that was the match of the night because it for one, when you watch women's wrestling, you sometimes look, oh, they're going to do a headbutt, they're going to do a bulldog, they're going to do some fancy things, and that's it. No. This match was pound for pound one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen, and the reason for that being is because it felt like it just felt like a performance. If you know what I'm saying, like it just flowed.
And it felt like that inside a warehouse, man. Like these guys,
they
put an AEW banner, and it still feels like that. That's awesome.
That's what I'm saying. And to those people who say, "Oh my God, I hate AEW because they don't showcase women." Oh my God, I hate AEW because there's only one wrestling match a night. They're giving you these platforms to watch it. There's no excuses anymore. If you want more women's wrestling, then you better go tell your friends and your grandma, your bald-headed granny, everybody to go watch that. Let's get that YouTube video to 1 million views.
And it's not only that. Like I said, I feel like the company has established a good mix of talent. I mean, obviously, we're going to bring up some hardcore wrestling. They've established tag team wrestling. They've established cruiserweights. And I think it's cool. To finish off the topic, where do you see this going? Like, who do you think is going to face off in the end?
I'm very scared because I'm rooting for so many women. I want Anna Jay. I think Anna Jay has so much potential. I think she has the it. I think she could be a huge star for AEW. I see Britt Baker, who is arguably the face of the AEW's women's division, and I want to see her become champion. But at the same token, Riho is back, and I want her to go against Shida. But then you look at the women's wrestling side, and we have Emi Sakurai. We have Asha Khan, right, which is a legend in women's Japanese wrestling, and I want her to go head-to-head with Shida. So I almost feel like I know I sound like Jerry Lawler right now. I have so many picks. I don't know. I don't know. I have too many fan favorites that I want. Make it into a six women elimination tournament or something. I don't know. We just have them all in the Fatal 4-Way.
I will like that. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is going towards Riho versus Asia Kong. You know, Riho has such great chemistry with Nyla Rose.
Yes.
I feel like they want to put like the different sizes of the women here.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're headed, and I think Riho's gonna take it, baby.
And you think Riho's gonna take it?
Riho's my fan favorite in AEW.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I'm shocked, but okay. Did not see that coming.
If that's not the only thing that's gonna shock you, because Kenny Omega seems to be distancing himself from the Young Bucks, man. Like, so the main event this week ended with the Young Bucks getting beat up.
Yeah.
And Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers are just looking. They're just looking from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And taking their sweet time.
Yeah.
I've told you this. I felt like this relationship was never going to end. What's going to happen?
I think, and it's interesting because he was trying. He was saying, "Oh, we should go out there. We should go out there." But
we should go out there.
Nobody was going. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like you're watching a train track that just went crazy. And you're like, "Oh man, that's scary. Oh, I gotta go." Right? That's all he did. Oh man, that looks really bad. Oh well, I gotta go. Like he was saying, we gotta go do something, but you weren't doing anything. It's like you were putting on a show. I think we talked about this last week. He is. He's putting on a show.
I don't know why he's doing that. By the way, I said it was the main event. It wasn't the main event. Like the point is the Young Bucks were getting beat up, and I followed these guys' careers, and I've never seen them do this. I feel like Kenny Omega is definitely being swayed into a certain direction.
I don't think he's being swayed
where
anymore.
It's going. Huh?
I don't think he's being swayed anymore. I think Kenny knows that he has to distance. Kenny's at a point in his career where he knows he had his matches with Okada. He's had his matches with calibers of great performers. And now he knows that he is at the pinnacle of wrestling. He knows all eyes are on him.
But why would you abandon your old friends? It doesn't even make sense.
Because he's at the top. He's at the top, and he knows he can't be relegated to helping his friends anymore. He has to look out for himself.
That's true.
And I think this is getting to a point where we got to look at it and say, Kenny Omega is in for himself, and he's no longer looking for friends. He's looking for those people he can use, and that's what he has with the Good Brothers.
We said last week, he had the assistance of the Good Brothers to deliver that one-winged angel to Lance Archer. That was phenomenal. They obviously have his back now. They're going to have his back at Revolution because we got the big announcement that him and Jon Moxley are going to face off in a barbed wire explosion death match.
Oh my God.
You like
my God. Let me tell you something. Kenny is reaching into his New Japan Pro Wrestling love, and he's going into his Japanese love because Kenny's always trying to push the envelope. Kenny's always trying to do something bigger and better. He's always trying to perform something that he's never been done before. This hasn't been done in a long time. Okay, we haven't seen a explosive barbed wire death match since I don't even know when. It's been so long. It's been so long. The last one we had it with Onita versus, I forgot his name. It's slipping on the tip of my tongue. But we haven't seen it in so long. So we know we have a crazy guy named Moxley. We have Kenny Omega, which we had their series of matches go on of showing how crazy it can get.
But is this good for Kenny? Like, why would Kenny do? I don't understand why people would do this to themselves. I feel bad for every wrestler trying to go for a title in AEW right now. Because
why?
Because Jon Moxley's not really like a wrestler. This guy's a hardcore brawler. And it's kind of like when you have Mick Foley in the company. If your champion is a hardcore legend like that, you have no choice but to like do those matches. But then you're like, oh, if I don't want to go for that title, I'll go for the TNT title. Who's the champion there? Oh, Darby. Oh, well, that sucks for me too. Like,
well, you have to understand something, right? Jon Moxley is the epitome of just a straight shooter who is you legitimately have to beat him senseless to knock him out. And Kenny knows that. That's why he did the first unsanctioned match that they had. They went all out. And it was one of the.
But who won that match?
I believe it was Kenny Omega.
No, he didn't win that match. That's my point.
Jon Moxley won? Oh, he did win. I forgot Jon Moxley beat Kenny Omega. I forgot. So this is why he has to beat Mox at his own game.
It's getting the best of him. I'm telling you, you don't beat someone in their own game. You have to beat them on your game. And Kenny Omega is one of the most skilled talents we have ever seen. He's a combination of
he
Bret
doesn't
Hart.
want that, though. He doesn't want that, though.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. He doesn't want that because he's done that with Okada. He's done that with Ishii and all these other wrestlers. So he wants to prove himself that he's not just a in-ring technical best bout machine. He's not just a five-star.
He's not a testicle ace.
He wants to show the world that he is the best wrestler at any platform, on any level, hardcore.
But
match,
it's not
anything.
True. But it's not
true. It we'll find that out in the death match.
No,
when the death match comes, I'm telling you, Kenny Omega is going to put on a hell of a show. I'm telling you right now.
I'm not denying that he's going to put on a hell of a show. But when The Rock took on Mick Foley, when people took on Terry Funk, when people take on these talents, you're not going to beat them at their game. This is what they do. Jon Moxley is a hardcore connoisseur. This man breathes hardcore.
Yes, he is.
And it's like, Kenny Omega, it's one of the most refined wrestlers. It's a combination of Bret Hart, Kurt Angle, Lance Storm, all these great talents, Eddie Guerrero, and you're not Jon Moxley. So if you put yourself in those situations, you're going to lose.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't understand.
This is a whole different Kenny Omega. That's all I can take.
It's a whole different Kenny Omega. And speaking of a different Kenny Omega, so Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley have been making comments throughout the wrestling world about where they see the universe expanding. Kenny Omega recently talked about potentially getting the WWE involved in the expansion of our wrestling universe. Jon Moxley recently had some comments on his relationship in WWE.
Yes.
Do you think any of this matters? Do you think it's going to go anywhere? Especially with, these two guys are the main eventers in AEW.
I think the door is open, but I don't think WWE will ever open that door. I think it's a very interesting that they're both talking about WWE because the interviews that kept asking the questions, but I think AEW is not looking forward or is not really reaching out their hand towards WWE and saying, yo, you want to work together? No.
Well, one of the first entrances we had in AEW was Cody, destroying the chair with a sledgehammer. Yeah. That was obviously a shot at Triple H. I think Jon Moxley obviously left feeling like he had more to deliver. Kenny Omega hasn't experienced that relationship at all.
No.
I think they are both driven in their own backgrounds and what they've experienced. Do you see Jon Moxley wanting to work with an expansion if we do dive into a relationship with WWE?
I don't think so because and Moxley commented this on Wrestling Observer newsletter when he did an interview. I think it came out today. He talked about how the limitations of WWE really hindered him. Like he talks about how when he was doing promos against Hell in a Cell, he always talked about, at Hell in a Cell, you're going to learn what hell truly is, right? And he was doing all these big promos. And then when the match came, it was a basic match inside of a Hell in a Cell, right?
Yeah,
and so that's what he's saying, where he felt like he was under-delivering while the promos and the storylines were just so bigger than life. And then when they got to the actual match, it was so condensed. And I feel like that's where Kenny Omega and both Moxley see it as WWE restricts and puts a glass ceiling, where with AEW, we're having a goddamn death match. Right? That's never been. That's like, wait, what? We're doing a death match? Yes, we're doing a death match. So that's what I'm saying. I think in the terms of AEW, they're trying to push the envelope and trying to take wrestling to places they've never been before, and I think that's why it's working so well with that.
So you think this door is still forbidden then?
I think for WWE it's forbidden, but I think the door for everybody else is all the way open.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Just wanted your take on that. And speaking of doors that got knocked down, I'm going to tell you someone else that got knocked down this week. The Stinger got knocked down this week, man. Okay, so obviously we've been going back and forth every week with Team Taz and Darby Allin and Sting. And I'm like, oh, Sting always got this. We good. And this week, Sting came out and said, I got this, bro. I'm going to take on Team Taz on my own. He came out with a bat. He put the bat on the floor and said, I got this. Ace, he didn't got this.
Let me tell you something. I legit was waiting for them to interrupt him because that's been rinse and repeat with this feud. Is Sting comes out, we're gonna interview Sting. Oh, here comes the what's it called? What is it called? Taz and his gang, and they do some crazy stuff in the back, and then that's over, right? And then Sting looks menacing, and he points the bat and says, I'm going to get you next time.
And then we'll see you next week.
And we'll see you next week. And then we got Sting again. But this time he took a bump, and that was a nasty bump. Let me tell you something. That poor man.
Hey, can I just say, Brian Cage is one of the most highly sought after talents that anyone's wanted. You know, when he was in Lucha Underground, everybody raved about him. When he was in Impact and became the Impact the world champion there, he became highly sought after. Like NXT went after him, and AEW went after him. He ended up in AEW. He became the FTW champion here, and this is the first opportunity that we see him go up against like a main eventer. And this was like the highlight of his career, man. The man just put out Sting. Yeah,
and not just put him out, he laid him clean on his back. That man didn't even get back up after that. I was expecting him to get back up. No, that man sit there staring at the lights and said, yo, can I still go? And
we went to commercial break with Sting.
And he's still gone. And that's what I'm saying, right? And I think that was storytelling in the making where it shows, yes, Sting is there, but I don't think he still got it.
Okay.
Right?
So do you think this was a good idea? Like,
I think it was. It was, because now it puts doubts. It put doubt in my mind, and it puts doubt in people. Why are we having this match? What is Sting really doing? And we saw that he's not ready.
That's my thing. It didn't put doubt in my head. That crushed me, man. Imagine a little kid sitting with like their Sting T-shirt at home, and they're like, don't worry, Mom, Sting got this. Ugh.
But that's like, the thing, though, right? But and that's why I love this segment, because when you look at the parallelism with Goldberg, right? He goes in there and you go in there because you go in there and Goldberg's like, oh, I can beat you, and then you see him go against Drew McIntyre and he got beat. Same thing here. We have to keep it real, and that's what they did. AEW kept it real. Yes, Sting is larger than life. Yes, he's a superstar, but he is going against a guy like Brian Cage, who is a animal. He is a beast. And so
he looks like a freaking Wolverine out there,
exactly. Man. And so you just can't be like, oh, Sting's going to get this. No, it's not going to be a Hulk Hogan punch and boom, you automatically go down. No, you have to keep it real. And that's what they did. So
this is when keeping it real goes too far.
No, I think keeping it real goes best. So now you know why this has to be a backstreet brawl where Sting has to bring not just one, maybe two bats, maybe a whole bunch of things to go against FTW.
That's a good explanation, actually. You're right. This justifies why the match has to be the way it is.
Yes.
I like that. Ace.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you. Well, I want you to tell me more, because I have a question of the week for you, Ace.
Question of the week.
All right. We discussed the amazing women's tournament that we got going on in AEW, which brought me back some memories of some of the greatest women's matches of all time.
Yes.
Ace, what is your favorite women's wrestling match of all time?
I think my favorite women's wrestling match of all time, and this is just me being biased, but it's because it was the first time ever I got it, right? And I got it in the sense where I realized that women can do this too, and if not, they can do it better than men. And that was the match between Trish Stratus and Lita on Monday Night Raw at the main event, their first main event ever. The first ever women ever main evented Monday Night Raw. And it was Trish versus Lita. And that match, regardless of how you feel about it, that match cemented my feelings and everybody saying women's wrestling is here. Women's wrestling could be, and if not better than the men's. And it shows that is what women's wrestling is about. It is the passion, the exhilarating, the storylines. It is everything you want. And that, to me, is why Trish Stratus versus Lita is, in my opinion, the best wrestling match for me.
Could you imagine in the middle of like the Attitude Era where you got guys like The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold, and they're like, we're gonna main event this week with you two. The nerves that must have gone through their heads, and they're like, don't worry guys, we got this. And they did. You're right. They completely broke whatever barrier was in front of them, and it became normal to see that.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like that moment, for me, it was the moment that cemented women's wrestling and why so many females and so many people wanted to watch more women's wrestling or got into watching wrestling because of those two women. They were the trailblazers. They were the Hulk Hogans. They were the Rocks and Austin. And I feel like we should really treat them that way. I feel like we don't give them enough respect or enough cadence to them and say, hey, we have Rock and Austin, but we have Trish and Lita. They were the pinnacle of women's wrestling.
Oh, I think they definitely are respected. I think they're the highest, they're the Hall of Famers. But in my opinion, Trish and Lita walked so Sasha could run, baby. I feel like Sasha Banks is the greatest women's wrestler of all time. Absolutely nobody can touch her. And that is why, in my opinion, when I saw Bayley and Sasha at NXT go on a 30-minute Iron Man match, I knew we had a legend in our hands. I already knew before this, but this is what cemented it. And then I see her take on Charlotte in a variety of matches, including a Hell in a Cell match. I can't even pick. To me, these are the quintessential top women's matches of all time, and it's all because of Sasha.
Well, okay. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
I try, man. I try. Anyway, that's it, Ace. Did you like this week's episode?
Most definitely. But you know what? Those people who are watching right now, hopefully you like this episode. And if you did like this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to Roger Talks Wrestling. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere you get it. We gonna be on there. But at the same time, if you are not watching this and you want to be on the road, maybe taking a shower, maybe at the gym, I don't know what you do, and you want to listen to this show on the road, on anywhere, we're available on a podcast. That's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to your podcast, we are on there. The Weekly Finish is on there. So make sure to go and subscribe. Make sure you tune into us. And again, like and subscribe. And
not only like and subscribe, comment, baby.
Please.
I want to know what is your favorite women's match. Let us know what you thought of Riho. Let us know what you thought of Serena Deeb. Let me know what you think of Sasha, even though I know what you think of Sasha already. Like, just let us know.
Facts.
So that was it. Thank you for joining us this week, guys. And like Ace said, make sure and subscribe. Check us out every week. And that's it, man. We're out, Ace.
All right, y'all keep it easy. See you guys next week here on The Weekly Finisher.